Hi, my name is Marcella Garwood, and I'm the current president of the Philadelphia chapter. And we're kicking off our first Spotlight member for the InSite newsletter. Today we have Alana Dunoff with us, who has quite a track record. 22 years experience in strategic facility management planning, Masters of Science in Facility Planning and Management from Cornell University. She's held many positions locally in the Philadelphia market, and she's founded her own company, AFD Facility Management Planning, in 2002. She's been an active member in the FM community for over 20 years, a past president also of the IFMA Philadelphia chapter, and also served on the board of directors for International in 2003 to 2005, and currently also on the board for the Education Committee with Philadelphia chapter. She's an adjunct professor for Temple University, teaching the facility management program, and also a qualified instructor teaching the FMP program. And of course, today we're speaking to her because she has been awarded the IFMA Foundation Fellow in 2014 at World Workplace in New Orleans. So we are very, very excited to have Alana here. Welcome, Alana.
Thank you very much.
What is it that first attracted you to the organization?
I had the first opportunity or exposure to IFMA back when I was in graduate school, and the professor said that there was this organization association that was giving out scholarships, which I was very intrigued and, of course, interested in, and applied for the scholarship and was one of the first award winners of the IFMA DuPont Scholarship, which afforded me an opportunity to go to my first conference in San Diego. And once I graduated from school and I moved to Philadelphia, it seemed like a natural place. I didn't know anybody in the Philadelphia area. I figured I'll go check out this organization and just see who they are. Maybe it'll give me something to do and be involved with.
Well, Philadelphia is certainly lucky to get you, as well as IFMA. What would you say your favorite role was in IFMA?
There have been so many roles. I really did enjoy being on the executive board of the Philadelphia chapter. I really held, I think, every position from membership to programming to treasurer and secretary. Being president, of course, really has the opportunity to set some trends and values and really create an organization and hopefully leave some legacy behind. For me, even being a part of this InSite is exciting because I was involved in the original development of InSite, the paper version. So seeing it continue to flourish and have a legacy is actually very, very rewarding for me.
So you've given so much to IFMA. What has IFMA given you?
Relationships, friendships, colleagues, people who have been at my wedding, for the birth of my children, who have been there for work, for my students now at Temple, people who have given me an opportunity. I got my first consulting opportunity by somebody who called me and said, I heard that you've had some changes going on. I have a project. Would you be interested in being a consultant? I never thought I would have my own business, and yet the phone call came, and it was that opportunity. It was that kind of support and connection that I think really I've really gotten back from them.
How has IFMA grown since you've been involved with the organization?
The growth of IFMA has been tremendous, from diversity to just the population. I mean, it has really grown internationally. Greater global presence, I think, has been tremendous. I've seen that increase more. Education has certainly increased more within the profession, with now 30 some odd accredited programs, which is exciting, I think, for the profession to know that there really are students and people interested in filling the shoes of those who are retiring. But I think it's also a more professional organization. It is really looking at the whole broad spectrum of the built environment and the role that facilities professionals and managers play within the built environment. And the headlines today are full of reasons why we need to be good at what we're doing, from things like sustainability, which is paramount to so many organizations now and how we live, but also disaster recovery and what happens in emergencies and things like that. Unfortunately, we hear those things in the headlines, but when those things happen, the CEOs call us to respond. What would we do? How would we take care of our people? Facilities is about the safety and productivity of people in places and buildings and spaces, and that's an awesome responsibility.
Yes, it is. And so if you were counseling an FM professional, what would you tell them the advantages of being involved in IFMA?
I think when you're the FM in an organization, you tend to be pretty siloed. There aren't many of you in your organization, and there's a sea of everybody else. And so the idea that you can meet and connect with others who may not be exactly what you're doing, but awfully close to, where you can share ideas and benchmark and get best practices and just sort of sympathize and agonize and strategize with other people about what you do, I think is the strength of any association. And I think IFMA really does that in spades.
So moving on to really the state of FM now, would you say it's growing, declining? Is it staying steady?
I think that it's shifting. I think the paradigm of what's happening with FM, I think we're getting more responsibility. I think we're being invited to the C-suite more often, getting involved in bigger initiatives and being seen as much more a strategic part of the organization. But the demographics of IFMA is also changing. At World Workplace, they were talking about how only 8% of the IFMA population of 24,000 is under the age of 35, which means that there are a lot of people who are going to be retiring, and the pool to fill those jobs is going to be changing. And that new demographic also has direct impact on what's happening in our facilities. Organizations like GSK, for instance, have rethought how space is being used, and what is important to someone of the new millennial generation is very different to those who are in the baby boomer generation, and so on. So I think it's a big shift about how we work, where we work, why we work, and what our job is and how we support that for our companies so the people in our companies can be ultimately productive, which is really the foundation of what we try to do.
So what advice do you have for FMs? How should they handle these changes?
I think that one of the things I tell my students is that the best thing that FMs can do is plan and then know that plans are going to change. That we have to be able to be responsive and not reactive. And we've always been that way. It's why we're good at what we do. It's why we're, I think, driven to facilities in general. Those who come into this field are people who know that every day is different and they're going to respond differently. So I think the next thing that comes isn't going to be anything different than when we were hit with ADA issues or Y2K issues. When we all scrambled and we did it, we found a process, we worked through it, and we made our way. So whatever comes our way as facilities professionals, we're going to continue to do what we do. We have processes. We'll manage through those because who knows what's going to happen the next day you walk in the door, right?
That's true. Last question, and one that I think really relates to all of what you've given to IFMA, and that is, the benefits of taking the FMP and the certifications. I mean, how would you describe what benefits and advantages there are by participating in those programs?
I think with any profession, the idea of getting certification and acknowledging to yourself and to the outside world that you have achieved a level of competency within your profession is an important one. Human resources people look at that. So whether it's excelling in your current job or looking for a new job, having credentials is after your name is an important thing. It's fun to have those letters after your name and to know that you've worked for it and that you have earned it and that it can take you new places because you're seen as sort of an elite group of people who really do know what you're talking about. Just like a CPA, I think IFMA really hopes that the FMP, the CFM, and even the SFP, which is the Sustainable Facilities Professional designation, are all things that are tools that we can use to demonstrate to the C-suite and the HR organizations and even to ourselves that we really do know what we're talking about.
Professional as opposed to the janitor, right? Well, we really appreciate your participation here today and to be on the first spotlight. Thank you very much. IFMA thanks you. IFMA Philadelphia thanks you. IFMA International thanks you. So,
thank you. An absolute pleasure to be here. Appreciate it.